Press and hold the center power button to power on the bike. Hold the plus and minus buttons simultaneously to reach the settings menu. Scroll down and press the center button to select the battery lock page, and then press it once again to unlock and eject the battery. Place your hand below the battery to support it. Once the top end of the battery is disengaged, press the handle to release the battery and lift it out of the bike. With the bike inverted, turn the crank and shift the derailleur to the highest gear, which is the smallest cog. Cut the zip tie securing the motor cable to the frame, and then disconnect the motor connection by pulling the two motor connection plugs apart. Carefully wiggle off the rubber grommet from the rear axle nut on the drive side. Use an 18mm open-end wrench to loosen and remove the axle nut and washer. Repeat these steps on the non-drive side. Note, a box end 18mm wrench can be used on this side. Use a 4mm hex wrench to loosen and remove the two kickstand mounting bolts. Remove the kickstand. Tilt the derailleur back and lift the rear wheel up and out of the dropouts of the frame. Use a 2.5mm hex wrench to remove the 3 ACU cover bolts. Remove the cover. Use a 3mm hex wrench to remove the 3 bolts that mount the wheel lock assembly into the inner chainstay of the frame. Lift out the wheel lock mechanism and guide the cable out of the frame. Disconnect the cable connection for the left side taillight. On the drive side of the bike, use a 2.5mm hex wrench to loosen the mounting bolt for the single cable retainer and remove them. Pull out and carefully disconnect the right side taillight connection. Use a 4mm hex wrench to loosen and remove the headlight pivot bolt. Remove the headlight from the bracket. Disconnect the headlight connection. Use a 2.5mm hex wrench to remove the bolt from the stem cable cover. Remove the cable cover. Use a 4mm hex wrench to loosen both of the stem clamping bolts. Remove the stem rubber grommet and then use a 5mm hex wrench to loosen the stem preload bolt until the stem can be released. Remove the stem. Follow up by removing the headset dust cover, compression ring, and upper headset bearing. Lift the fork and front wheel up and out of the frame. Use a 3mm hex wrench to remove the two bolts that mount the battery lock assembly to the frame. Use a 2.5mm hex wrench to remove the 3 bolts that attach the cable cover plate within the battery compartment. Remove the cover plate. Use a 3mm hex wrench to remove the 2 bolts that mount the terminal assembly to the frame, and then use a 2.5mm hex wrench to remove the 2 bolts that secure the controller cover plate. Lift up the controller cover plate and disconnect the 3rd plug on the controller and remove the harness from the bike. Swap the light harness. Plug the new harness back into the controller by aligning the arrow to the front and firmly pressing the plug in place. Guide the male and female harness ends for the taillights towards the back of the bike. Ensure the female end goes into the non-drive side of the bike. Reconnect the taillight by aligning the arrows and firmly pressing the connection together. Reattach the cable to the E-lock assembly and then guide the cables back into the frame. Use a 3mm hex wrench to reinstall the 3 E-lock mounting bolts to secure the assembly to the bike frame. Ensure all bolts are threaded in before final tightening. Feed the male harness end back into the drive side of the frame and reconnect the taillight by aligning the arrows and firmly pressing the connection together. Guide the cable back into the frame and reattach the cable retainer using a 2.5mm hex wrench. Guide the other end of the light harness through the battery compartment and replace the controller and its cover in the frame. Reinstall the two controller cover plate bolts using a 2.5mm hex wrench. Guide the headlight cable end of the harness out through the head tube of the bike. Replace the ACU cover plate and install the 3 mounting bolts using a 2.5mm hex wrench. Ensure all 3 bolts are threaded in before final tightening. Lift the derailleur back, guide the rear wheel back into the frame, and ensure the axle fits fully into the dropouts of the frame. The torque washers should be facing upward toward the opening. Replace the washer and axle nut on each side of the rear wheel and torque them to 40 to 45 Newton meters. Reinstall the rubber axle protectors on either side. Reinstall the kickstand and 2 original bolts using a 4mm hex wrench. Reconnect the motor cable connection by aligning the arrows on the plugs and firmly pressing the connection together. Replace the zip tie to attach the cable to the frame. Trim the excess zip tie. Guide the terminal back into the frame and reinstall the mounting bolts using a 3mm hex wrench. Organize the cables, align the cable cover plate to the mounting holes in the battery compartment, and reinstall the 3 mounting bolts with a 2.5mm hex wrench. Position the battery lock assembly in place and reinstall the 2 mounting bolts using a 3mm hex wrench. Reinstall the fork into the head tube, ensuring the lower headset bearing is still in place. Guide the upper headset bearing over all of the cables from the head tube and press the bearing into place with the chamfered side touching the frame. Note, assembly grease added to the head tube can help retain the bearing during this step. Replace the compression ring with the opening containing the cables toward the front of the bike, as shown. Feed the cables through the opening of the dust cover and guide it back onto the head tube. While keeping the cables oriented forward, press the dust cover flush against the head tube of the bike. Guide the stem back into the steerer tube and use a 5mm hex wrench to thread on the stem compression bolt. Continue to tighten the bolt until the stem is fully seated. Ensure that the headset is properly preloaded while ensuring there is still good movement in the steering. Reinstall the stem cable cover and mounting bolt using a 2.5mm hex wrench. Reconnect the headlight connection by aligning the arrows and firmly pressing the connection together. With the cables routed into the headlight bracket as shown, reinstall the headlight and headlight pivot bolt using a 4mm hex wrench. With the bike upright, align the handlebars with the front wheel. Snug the headset preload bolt and replace the rubber grommet, and then use a 4mm hex wrench to tighten the stem clamping bolts and alternate between the two while torquing them to 8 to 10 Nm. Reinstall the battery by inserting the bottom first and pressing the top to lock it in place. Press and hold the center power button on the bike. Hold down the plus button to turn on the lights and the left and right arrows to test for proper function.